Hello, hello. Good morning and welcome to Monday, the 15th of June. All right, let me click buttons. All right, so we currently have the moon in Gemini still, because today's the Gemini new moon. All right, the new moon is at 12:54 p.m., so just before 1 o'clock lunchtime, and it is at 24 degrees of Gemini. All right, so sorry, I'm just going to find it for right now. All right, so now the sun and the moon are only talking to each other. They are making no other connections to any other planets. Good morning, DG. How are you? So it's just a really interesting day. I love you. Um, so thinky, all right, we're in a thinky mode. However, Mercury is in Cancer. So, with Mercury in Cancer, Jupiter still in Cancer, Venus is in Leo, know that now, so that's fabulous. But we could potentially be focusing on our homes, our early childhood conditions, ancestry, you know, the things in our home, maybe you're renovating, I don't know, or because we're in this new moon cave space, all right, so remember the new moon is when there's no light from the moon, so I always liken it to going into a cave to have a think. All right, and it's especially poignant today because it's in Gemini. All right, so I'm going to read the words because I know I changed them from my book. All right, so this is a time where the insights you gain from just being curious about the things you think you already know will allow you to see that maybe there's more to it. It's time to ask yourself, what practical steps can you take so that for the ideas to feel good? Gather information so that when you do your new moon list, you're asking for your current needs to be expanded upon, not letting the old influences and memories take up your future energy. All right. Oh, look at that. Good morning, Louise. Good morning, Christy. Hello, Barbara. How are you? All right. So, again with the past, all right, actually Mercury is at 18 degrees and it goes into shadow at 24 degrees. Does it go, is it 24? No, at 26 degrees. Wow, so that's still 2 weeks. All right, so it's on the 30th. So Mercury currently is tracking very slowly. All right, so yes, time is getting distorted. We might be getting stuck in our thoughts. All right, because Mercury, like I said, he's looking at our previous experience. He's going very slowly. So, what are you spending most of your time upon? And again, this is more about you don't know what you don't know. All right. You need to remain curious about life because it is always changing and always wanting to grow. All right. I love that Venus is now in Leo because she's moved on from that this is my lot in life housewife vibe. All right, I'm absolutely not being detrimental. I just mean that she is wholeheartedly embracing when she's in Cancer, she's enjoying that role. She is the role of the mother. She wants to stay at home. And I mean, look, when my boys were babies, I thoroughly enjoyed staying home with them, but I've always been a worker. I like working. All right. So with Venus now in Leo, she's like, there is more to me than just being wife, mother, homemaker. All right. So she's still quite fresh. It's only at 1 degree. All right. So she's still maybe, getting her polishing up her crown, getting out her nice robes out of the wardrobe, whatever it is. It's Monday, all right? Maybe she just hasn't quite woken up yet. Anyway, regardless. All right, so it's more about um, acknowledging the way we think. Is it your way of thinking or is it somebody that gave you that thought? Are you sick and tired of things just being on a hamster wheel? Then look deeper, look further, or ask yourself, why am I stuck there? Good morning, Helen. How are you? So, yeah, so we want to just be more curious, look deeper, look harder, ask yourself why, get that curiosity bone and tickle it. I don't know where that came from, but there you go. All right, so like I was saying, the sun and the moon, they are talking to each other, they are connected. The moon is very close to the sun, and but after 2 o'clock, the new moon starts to make a trine with the south node. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Kathy. How are you? Yeah, so after two, the trine to the south node. So if you can get into this curious state and start being aware of the thoughts that you want to let go of, or the things that just don't serve you currently. I mean, you could have a line of thinking that is very relevant and will be throughout your whole life, but your current circumstances are different. All right, there is so much change in the air. And I mean, I was listening to a couple of other people's views. Ah, Karen, searching the wardrobe. You know what, Karen? Make it the most regal thing you can find. Look like a queen today. There we go. There you go. I want you to look like a queen. Think velvets and faux fur and gold and red and all those fabulous colors. All right. So I completely lost my train of thought, but that doesn't matter. Okay. Oh, there we go. So, the south node. All right. So think of that empty cup. All right. The glass is less than half full or it's empty. All right. Sometimes those things can keep us safe, but where we are now, there is that much change in the air. You want to grab this energy. It's got so much potential, but it's also quite destructive. All right. When I was listening to these other people, they're like this, what do they call it? They're calling it a basket. There was a certain person's name. I can't think of it. Anyway, so to me, it looks like one of those circus barrels, when they have the ones that elephants stand on, and it's sort of like that shape. All right, so that's the mini grand trine, and there's another planet involved. Anyway, hang on, let me. I just scrolled my book. All right. So the configuration that I'm sort of talking about at the moment, it is not just the mini grand trine with Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, but Uranus is also making a connection to Venus, and she's talking to Pluto. So there is this. Good morning, Sally. How are you? There is this element of this Venusian pride. All right. Everything's changing. Last week I was talking about how Venus is thinking different. She's looking at her belief systems differently, becoming more independent. She's looking at the society, or, the crowd and associations and groups around her, and seeing the shadow stuff, which is reverberating back. So she's changing her beliefs. Then she's changing her thinking. So with Venus involved, the bubble, oh, thank you, the bubbled basket. All right, beautiful. So, and this basket, it's, people are like, oh, sextiles and trines, they're easy flow. No, yes, but no. The one that I was looking at, it was showing very similar aspects in history, and they weren't great situations. They might have been it was basically the shadow taking over. All right. It was stuff like World War II, and when there was wars where the villains as such joined forces. All right. So for everybody collectively, that wasn't a great experience. For the villains, it was, because they joined forces. So, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, the thinking that we're doing right now with this Gemini new moon, is it serving you in a way that is going to support your future freedom? Are you in a state where you're looking at everything, change needs to happen, but you've got that fear potentially, all right? Or you think you know what you know, but again, you don't know what you don't know. So I really just want you to sort of, the last couple of days have been very contemplative. We've had these slow mornings where we can just sort of sit in it. And you know, there's a lot of things coming, and I am not a doomer at all right? However, I would love you to be really, really cautious when it comes to things like your finances, especially. All right, we're going into this phase of July where we're looking at a financial overhaul of the collective systems. All right, so what can you do to back up any of your savings, or back up any of your your survival systems, I guess. Again, I'm not saying go and buy a shit ton of food unless it's things like that are coming from overseas. We were talking about this last week. Things that are coming from overseas. Now is that 6 month point where we're not going to get those things anymore. I know you're all seeing the shelves empty, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is sort of a home related thing, but um, home being your security, home being where you're safe. All right. So we think that we're going to be continually safe. However, things are changing, and we need to also change our perspective and our belief systems, because we can see the black hole forming. All right. Again, don't want to be doomy, but I do want you to have a little bit more of a security prep. All right. So I was just saying to Mick, and I don't think this is too far-fetched. It's things like your superannuation. If you've got that in a high yield growth, then that they're taking your money and they're playing the stock market. All right. So I'm just going to go and say, hey, can I just revert this into something that is way more secure, like cash? All right. It might be a little bit less in the meantime, but the unpredictability and insecurity of the stock market, you're not going to lose it all. Again, I'm not trying to be too savage, or I can't think of the right word right now, but can you see what I'm sort of trying to say? Like, just secure yourself how you can. All right. Again, this quiet, dark place, we have these beliefs, but we can see the evidence is to the contrary. All right. So, how does that feel for you? I'm going to draw a card because I didn't actually come into this talk today with this line of thinking, but this is what's developed. So, I'm going to go with it. So, all right. Now, at 6 p.m. this evening, Venus is in conjunct the North Node. All right. So, the North Node, the road that the universe is asking you to follow, to come down. Don't just sit where you've always sat, South Node. You need to try and come this way. It does require bravery. It does require faith. The North Node is in Pisces. But at 6 o'clock, Venus is going to make that decision to make an adjustment to her path forward. All right. So there's that. All right. Now, another reason why I think I'm going to is that on Saturday, I'm pretty sure Saturday, yeah, Chiron moves into Taurus. All right, so this is another reason why securing yourself financially is a really good idea. All right, and again, we're all, not all experts, but doing things like making sure your insurance and blah 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 things. I'm looking at the fine print. There you go, to renew my home and contents insurance. Absolutely. Stuff like that, Karen. I completely concur. Another reason why I'm going to ring my super company today, because it's like, what is my insurance? I've been doing that salary sacrifice. What's that actually done for me? Is it worth it? Like, ask questions. Gemini moon, ask questions. If you don't know something, reach out. Perfect opportunity to look at the fine prints. And another one, Karen, why? Because Mercury is in Cancer and it is going to retrograde 24. Is it going to retrograde? It starts at 26. So yes, we are in shadow now. We are definitely in shadow now. So that is a perfect use of that energy. Looking at the terms and conditions of your home and contents. Absolutely perfect. All right. So what else? So yeah, after 2, the moon starts to trine the south node. All right. After 4, the moon starts to sextile Chiron, which is exact at 10 p.m. So you can see there is a letting go. There is an acknowledgement of something that might not be working great. After 6, there is a square to Neptune. Maybe this is challenging your beliefs, all right? After 8, another, a sextile to the South Node, all right? So first of all, after 2, we've got a good flow. Sorry, the North Node is after 6. So a good flow with the South Node. We can make these decisions so where we can let go of things. After 4, there is an opportunity to look at what potentially could be a wounding or healing experience. After 6, there could be something that is challenging our belief systems. And after 8, there is that opportunity to work with the oh my God, I've said the North Node. Fuck, sorry. I've confused myself. Let me just, because I've got North Node, South Node right next to each other. Ground, or in center. I got a little bit overexcited then. Let's just draw this card. All right. All right, this one. All right. Oh, okay. Look. She's like, I need a rest. And look, the new moon, all right, it is the full, it is almost the full dark of the moon. It is a time for rest. It is a time for, maybe this is the seed that she's going to plant, but she's thinking carefully while she's, taking a chance to chill out for a little bit. She's thinking about, what exactly is it that I would like to create? What is this seed that I want to grow? All right. And again, with the curiosity, you don't know what you don't know. You think you know or everything that you need, but you never will, because there's just too much information in the universe for any one person to know it all. But that does not mean that you cannot, like I said, reach out and ask questions. So the new moon is, like I said, at 12:54. So, it's 8 hours either side, but I always like to do it on the after side. So, letting the new moon grow a little bit, with that, after 2 o'clock, after 4 o'clock, after 6 o'clock, even after 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Once all of those other aspects come into orb and your awareness is just growing, maybe you can take your time, rest for the day, and then use the opportunity this evening to write these new moon wish lists. All right, now, interestingly enough, like I said, the sun is not making any connections at all. However, after 6 p.m., the sun starts to trine the North Node. All right. So based on all of that, and especially with that Venus making her adjustments to her future direction at 6 p.m., I'm going to call new moon wish lists after 6, 6:30, 7. You've got up until 9 if you're sort of doing that 8-hour window. So how does that feel for everybody? And I'm glad that's a perfect card for you, Sally. I'm glad. All right, so that's where I'm at today. I'm definitely going to do my new moon wish list tonight at I'm gonna pick 7 p.m. There we go. It's on the board. New moon wish list. There you go. You saw me do it. All right, so now I've got little notes down here to add to this. How do you feel about this? All right, I've written, how do I feel about this? What memories are influencing me, and what ideas need nurturing? All right, so definitely, like I said, we've got the nodes, we've got Chiron, we've got Neptune. So definitely, part of this more of a spiritual perspective, your beliefs, Venus is looking at her life through the lens of her own wounding, and these are hereditary wounds. Yes, Venus did have her square to Chiron on Saturday, but it's still very relevant. And again, because Venus is now like proud of herself, she's moving on from that sort of, that place. Remembering though that Mercury is very slow, gonna go retrograde. It's time for you to contemplate life a bit, or contemplate how you view and think about life through the lens of your current reality. Like I said, you don't have to eliminate old thoughts, but are they relevant for where you're at now? So there you go. I love that one. That felt really good. That felt really good. Now I've only done a couple of days forward, which is fine. Tomorrow, I like tomorrow because you might have a plan, but something shiny might step in your way, and that's fine. You can still get back on track, but every day deserves a reason to shine and smile. And the same with Wednesday. Wednesday feels like a really good day as well. So I do like this week thus far. I've only got halfway through. But yeah, go and enjoy your day. And like Karen, go wear something fabulous. Sally, I was thinking about you the other day and that crown that you have. I want to make one. This queen needs a crown. So I'm going to do that in my couple of weeks off. I want to create some sort of crown for myself because why not? Because we all deserve a crown. So, love you guys. You are all so welcome, and I will see you tomorrow.